Good morning everybody, good morning and welcome to Nomad, the World is my beat. I'm journalist Lisa Foreman and I'm taking you around the world with me. It's Easter Sunday, I'm in Berlin and I'm walking towards the Bernauer Straße, Denkmalschutz, the memorial for the victims of the Berlin Wall. I was clearly and happily in hibernation mode in Paris at the end of February, beginning of March, when an invitation arrived from the Hotel Oderberger in Berlin. It happens to be one of my favourite hotels in the world in that it's built around a restored public bathing house, and indeed the entire hotel is built into what was a bathing facilities, giving it a particularly unusual architecture. It's grandiose in a functional way. I love to stay there. I'm a daily swimmer. The invitation actually was to go to the group's new Villa Bleichröder on Usedom. Usedom is on the Baltic coast. It takes 3.5 hours to reach by train from Berlin. And at the same time, I discovered that new night train had launched between Paris and Berlin, the European sleeper. And within a couple of days, I was able to put together a last minute trip taking me on the European sleeper through Berlin up to Usedom with a day trip into Poland, back through Berlin and back into Paris. So my hibernation for the winter is officially over. So I do a lot of travelling. And one thing I can't cope with psychologically is getting stuck anywhere. So I'm standing here on, I guess, what would have been no man's land in Berlin at the Bernauer Wall Memorial. And I'm just thinking what the desperation must have been like over there to just leave and have freedom. It must have been awful. And I just feel for whoever it was that ended up in a bad place on this side, in this space of the wall, trying to achieve that. What a world we live in. So Berlin has been liberated. You can freely move from east to west. But what about Gaza? What about Iran? What about Trump? What about what he's doing to the world? What about my friends in Paris that worry that if he wants to take Greenland, what about France itself or the rest of Europe? So politicians don't necessarily make our world safer or happier places. In fact, do they at all? From what I can see, the only place to go really and live where it seems to me a huge amount is done to give people a great quality of life is Finland. So maybe we'll be going there next. I have reconnected with my old journalist buddies in Berlin. I have discovered the Baltic coast as a global warming alternative to the south of France, where I've spent a lot more time. Some of the history of Usedom, the landscape I liked, the blustery beaches, the beautiful old villas. There's a lot you can do. I wondered if this would be a depressing trip to arrive on Usedom in March, but in fact, I thought it was really colourful. The villas were beautifully preserved. All right, everybody, good morning. We are off to visit the beach in Usedom, which is definitely the main attraction here. The other attractions include amazing historic villas, including the one pictured behind me where I'm staying, Villa Bleichröder. I'm here in Heringsdorf. This is bliss. This is Heringsdorf on the island of Usedom. It's known as the Nice of the Baltic Sea. This is the first beach that I've set foot on this year. It's beautiful. By contrast, Swinemünde on the Polish side looked very East Bloc, but it had some highlights. It had an Ernest Hemingway cafe and even a Cuban nightclub, which I didn't make it to. There was a thermal baths. It looked like a nuclear facility, but once I got inside, it was nice to dip in the thermal waters again. And indeed, the Kaiser Bäder, or the German bathing towns on their part of the Usedom island, which is split in two, have been for a long time a destination for those seeking healing from thermal waters as well as the sea air itself. Welcome everybody to Poland. Thanks to the Schengen Agreement, this is as complicated as it gets to cross over from Germany into Poland on the island of Usedom, which is shared by the two countries. I've just walked in from Henningsdorf. I cannot even begin to pronounce the name of this town, but it begins with S. And I've read about a cool restaurant serving dumplings and goulash or something like that, so that's next up. And I have to say, what's magical about this is that I have a tendency through my work obligation to appear and reappear in certain places, like Marrakesh, like Cannes, like Nice, like London, like Los Angeles, like Paris. And this trip came out of the blue. I followed through on an invitation. And I have to say, I wasn't anticipating having a particularly thrilling weekend up here. And as you can see, it's quite grey. But nonetheless, from some of the footage I've shot earlier at the beach and from the old villas in town, I like this place. It's got charm. Never underestimate what architectural gems you can find when you go in search of a Lidl, which is behind me. Just wondering if I can go back to Germany by boat, like that thing over there. Where's it going? Because otherwise I've got to wait for an hour for a train. Look at it. Surely that goes to Germany. So I'm here with a local, Jacob, who's just driven me from the Polish side to the German side of the island Usedom, which Germany claims is the sunniest place in the country, but he's not sure, having grown up here. Tell us, what's the latest and when did this place start to change?
This place started to change really in the 2010s, before the pandemic, of course. And we have recent investments like the LNG terminal, that it's a hub of liquid gas that comes from us to us from like Qatar or United States. And also we have the new investments, which is the tunnel that connects two parts of land, that's Usedom Island and the Volin Island. So because of these investments, the city got a lot of money.
The European sleeper train from Paris to Berlin and back officially launched on March 26th. I stayed in a 5-bunk carriage. It was deeply uncomfortable, but it was clean, it was friendly, it was warm. I love Hotel Oderberger. I like to swim. It's great to walk downstairs and swim. It's a place I also like to use as an office. The upstairs lounge is a brilliant space to get things done. It's just an unusual space. They have preserved some of the artefacts from the days it served as a bathing house. But it's not just the artefacts, it's the size of the building. This was a municipal building with these ultra wide corridors. It's large, it's gangling, but it has been so phenomenally restored. Hats off to the owners. Swinemünde was a trip. I did live in Berlin in the late 90s and definitely still have a love of that kind of East Bloc aesthetic, which I discovered at that point in time. Interestingly, everybody over there refused to speak German, and given that it's a half German, half Polish town, that was mind-boggling, really. Anyhow, it was an interesting way to pop out of my winter hibernation bubble, and also I can't say that I particularly loved travelling high season. It was the Easter holidays, there were a lot of families on the road, but in the end I was able to get into it and just deal with the fact that, you know, you can't always have the whole world kind of to yourself when everyone's in school, which often happens with my journalistic adventures. So all of this I can recommend. It was a long trip on the night train to Berlin, but nonetheless good to wake up actually in both directions in the morning in both cities. Usedom is an absolute blast of fresh air. Swinemünde is a hark back to the East Bloc past, and the Hotel Oderberger, if I had the money, would probably be one of two places I would keep a home, including the Hotel Molitor in Paris, because you can't beat a great swimming pool. This is Nomad, the World is My Beat. I'm Lisa Foreman. Thank you for watching.